The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. An unexamined life is not worth living. True knowledge exists in knowing that you know nothing. I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Wisdom begins in wonder. Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. He is richest who is content with the least, for content is the wealth of nature. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Envy is the ulcer of the soul. Virtue does not come from wealth, but wealth and every other good thing comes from virtue. I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. Be as you wish to seem. The hottest love has the coldest end. Understanding a question is half an answer. Thou shouldst eat to live, not live to eat. Contentment is natural wealth. Luxury is artificial poverty. The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. Sometimes you put walls up not to keep people out, but to see who cares enough to break them down. To find yourself, think for yourself. False words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. The way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. The mind is everything, what you think you become. Be slow to fall into friendship, but when thou art in, continue firm and constant. Employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall gain easily what others have labored hard for. Let him who would move the world first move himself. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Do not do to others what angers you if done to you by others. Know thyself. From the deepest desires often come the deadliest hate. Think not those faithful who praise all thy words and actions, but those who kindly reprove thy faults. Be nicer than necessary to everyone you meet. Everyone is fighting some kind of battle. We cannot live better than in seeking to become better. It is better to change an opinion than to persist in a wrong one. The soul is cured of its ills not by a change, but by self-awareness and acceptance. Every action has its pleasures and its price. Remember, no human condition is ever permanent. Then you will not be overjoyed in good fortune, nor too sorrowful in misfortune. Sometimes you make choices, and sometimes choices make you. Courage is knowing what not to fear. The easiest and noblest way is not to be crushing others, but to be improving yourself. Life contains but two tragedies. One is not to get your heart's desire, the other is to get it. Think only of the past as its remembrance gives you pleasure. The mind is the pilot of the soul. The greatest way to live with honor in this world is to be what we pretend to be. The unexamined life is not worth living for a human being. Every soul pursues knowledge, but some go blind by their desires. The beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms. The secret to happiness is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Do not go through life like a leaf blown by the wind. Instead, learn to ride the breeze. One thing only I know, and that is that I know nothing. No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. Understanding oneself is the beginning of all wisdom. To move the world, we must first move ourselves. How much better is it that man should keep his peace than that he should speak ill? Be aware of the delusion of knowledge, for thinking you know can blind you to wisdom. I am not an Athenian or a Greek, but a citizen of the world. Prefer knowledge to wealth, for the one is transitory, the other perpetual. All men's souls are immortal, but the souls of the righteous are immortal and divine. Wonder is the feeling of a philosopher, and philosophy begins in wonder. I do nothing but go about persuading you all, old and young alike, not to take thought for your persons or your properties, but first and chiefly to care about the greatest improvement of the soul. An unexamined life is a life without growth. A wise man learns more from a foolish question than a fool learns from a wise answer. Knowledge is our ultimate good, and ignorance our ultimate evil. He who would be wise must learn to listen. It is not living that matters, but living rightly. Better to change an opinion than to persist in the wrong one. Living well and beautifully and justly are all one thing. I know you won't believe me, but the highest form of human excellence is to question oneself and others. A man is a being with free will. Therefore, each man is potentially good or bad, and he can become either according to how he exercises his will. The hour of departure has arrived, and we go our ways, I to die, and you to live. Which is better, only the gods know. Be true to your inner self, and then let the world deal with you as it may. To love knowledge is to love life. Let us follow the argument wherever it leads. No evil can happen to a good man, either in life or after death. The really important thing is not to live, but to live well. Fame is the perfume of heroic deeds. The wealth of the soul is wisdom. The soul takes nothing with her to the next world but her education and her culture. He who learns must suffer. And even in our sleep, pain falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. A life without inquiry is not worth living for a human being. When debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. Be of good cheer about death, and know this is a truth, that no evil can happen to a good man, either in life or after death. The measure of a man is the way he bears up under misfortune. It is not the actions of others that disturb us, but our own judgments about them. The mind is like a fertile garden. It must be cultivated wisely or it will produce weeds. Wealth does not bring goodness, but goodness brings wealth and every other blessing. Ignorance is the root and stem of every evil. Strong minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Weak minds discuss people. Death may be the greatest of all human blessings. The greatest blessing granted to mankind comes by way of madness, which is a divine gift. Those who are hardest to love need it the most. To be is to do. We cannot live better than in seeking to become better. All I know is that I know nothing. By all means marry. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. If you get a bad one, you'll become a philosopher. If you don't get what you want, you suffer. If you get what you don't want, you suffer. Even when you get exactly what you want, you still suffer because you can't hold on to it forever. Your mind is your predicament. Be slow to fall into friendship, but when you are in, continue firm and constant. The easiest way to gain a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. The beginning of wisdom is a sincere desire for instruction. Flattery is like a shadow. It makes you appear taller, but it does not add an inch to your stature. The soul of man is immortal and imperishable. Nature has given us 2 ears, 2 eyes, and but 1 tongue, to the end that we should hear and see more than we speak. Life without learning is death. The closest thing to being cared for is to care for someone else. He who has the fastest horse cannot outrun his fate. The way to achieve a good reputation is to endeavor to be what you desire to appear. Be the kind of person that you want people to think you are. No man undertakes a trade he has not learned, even the meanest. Yet everyone thinks himself sufficiently qualified for the hardest of all trades, government. Think not of what is painful now, but what will be gained by it. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. 4 things belong to a judge: to hear courteously, to answer wisely, to consider soberly, and to decide impartially. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The envious person grows lean with the fatness of their neighbor. It is not difficult to avoid death, gentlemen. It is much more difficult to avoid wickedness, for it runs faster than death. Regard your good name as the richest jewel you can possibly be possessed of. To need nothing is divine, and the less a man needs, the nearer does he approach divinity. A multitude of books distracts the mind. Bad men live that they may eat and drink, whereas good men eat and drink that they may live. It is better to suffer wrong than to do wrong. If a man is proud of his wealth, he should not be praised until it is known how he employs it. Slowness to anger makes for deep understanding. A quick-tempered person stockpiles stupidity. The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders and love chatter in place of exercise. Give me beauty in the inward soul. May the outward and inward man be at one. Man is not made for defeat. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. People demand freedom of speech to make up for the freedom of thought which they avoid. Everything living comes from the unseen and returns to the unseen. True perfection is a bold quest to seek wisdom and walk a higher path. The shortest and surest way to live with honor in the world is to be in reality what we would appear to be. No man has a right to be ignorant of the science of healing. The value of a man is measured by the way he conducts himself in moments of difficulty. Philosophy begins in wonder, and at the end, when philosophical thought has done its best, wonder remains. If you want to be a good saddler, saddle the worst horse, for if you can tame one, you can tame all. The joy of the soul is in discovering what is eternal. To prefer evil to good is not in human nature, and when a man is compelled to choose one of two evils, no one will choose the greater when he might have the less. Life is like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters. Not life, but good life, is to be chiefly valued. Friendship is one soul in two bodies. Good men do not need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad men will find a way around the laws. We come into the world alone, and we leave the world alone. He who is unable to live in society, or who has no need because he is sufficient for himself, must either be a beast or a god. To fear death, gentlemen, is no other than to think oneself wise when one is not, to think one knows what one does not know. Every heart sings a song, incomplete, until another heart whispers back. Those who wish to sing always find a song. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Fools live to eat, and wise men eat to live. The greatest victory is victory over oneself. Know thyself, for once we know ourselves, we may learn how to care for ourselves. It is better to change your mind and succeed than to persist in failure. True understanding comes from self-awareness, not from external validation. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Virtue is a kind of health, beauty, and good habit of the soul. Life's worth is measured by the quality of your thoughts. The mind is the seat of knowledge. The heart is the seat of wisdom. It is not what you look at that matters, but what you see. Justice means minding your own business and not meddling with other men's concerns. He who seeks truth should be humble and willing to learn. Knowledge separates us from the beasts, but wisdom unites us with the divine. It is better to suffer an injustice than to commit one. Self-control is the foundation of a virtuous life. No man willingly chooses evil, but only mistakes it for the good he seeks. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. Silence is a form of wisdom and a powerful answer. Through adversity we learn strength. Through inquiry we learn truth. The easiest way to be happy is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Be ashamed when you sin, not when you repent. Time is the wisest counselor of all things. Truth is the beginning of every good thing, both in heaven and on earth. The power of philosophy is to clarify thought and to purify the soul. The path to wisdom begins with a single step, questioning your beliefs. A person who speaks without understanding will only spread confusion. The foundation of every state is the education of its youth. Real wealth is not in what you own, but in what you give. Those who seek wisdom are not satisfied with easy answers. The art of conversation is the art of learning. Those who are most virtuous are often the least rewarded. Kindness is the only investment that always pays dividends. Freedom is the ability to think for oneself, to question the world around you. The beginning of change is self-awareness. A mind that opens to a new idea will never return to its original size. Do not resent growing old. Many are denied the privilege. A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool speaks because he must say something. The only wealth that remains with you forever is knowledge. Learning never exhausts the mind but refreshes it. The true philosopher is one who knows he is always learning. The purpose of life is not to escape challenges, but to face them with courage. True happiness comes not from external possessions, but from inner harmony. It is not enough to have a good mind. One must also use it well. Choose to be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace. Each man's soul is his own responsibility. Where there is love, there is hope for humanity. Do not confuse the pursuit of pleasure with the pursuit of happiness. The simplest questions are often the hardest to answer. The wise man knows when to speak and when to remain silent. Civilization begins with self-discipline. Do not be angry with those who disagree with you. Seek to understand their reasoning. Fear is not the opposite of courage, it is the lack of understanding. Reason and passion are the two wings of the soul. Philosophy is a journey, not a destination. He who truly seeks virtue does not fear solitude. Live not in ignorance, for knowledge is the light of life. One cannot teach without first learning. Practice justice and truth as your guiding principles. Patience is a form of wisdom. It demonstrates that we understand the need for things to unfold in their own time. The most valuable possession is the ability to think for oneself. To know oneself is the beginning of all wisdom. The right way to live is to care for one's soul more than one's body. Fame is fleeting, virtue is eternal. The wise man avoids all extremes. The cure for ignorance is questioning. The measure of a person's worth is their ability to endure difficulties with grace. Good character is not given to us. We have to build it piece by piece, by thought, choice, courage, and determination. The whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning. It is not living that matters, but living rightly and justly. The path to wisdom is paved with questions. Justice is doing what is right, regardless of personal cost. The truth is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. Beware of the charm of flattering words, for they are often deceptive. True freedom is the ability to govern oneself. The more you know, the more you realize how little you understand. Every man's soul is his own responsibility. True beauty lies in purity of the soul. A man of integrity speaks the truth even when it costs him dearly. It is not wealth or power that defines a man, but his character. The most important thing in life is not simply to live, but to live with purpose and virtue. An honest man is always a child. The seeds of knowledge grow from the soil of curiosity. Be cautious of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance. Only in humility can one find wisdom. Trust not the majority but reason, for truth is not determined by numbers. The wise man sees through the veil of illusion that blinds others. Better to do one's own duty imperfectly than to do another's perfectly. The ultimate aim of human existence is the cultivation of the soul. The truly rich man is he who has no desires. He who knows how to control his passions is greater than he who conquers cities. Speak only when your words are better than silence. Do not waste your energy on trivial pursuits. Focus on what truly matters. It is better to be hated for speaking the truth than loved for telling a lie. The soul that is virtuous has no need of wealth or status to be fulfilled. Love is the bridge between the finite and the infinite. The mind once enlightened cannot again become darkened. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. The greatest honor comes from living a just life. The highest form of wisdom is kindness. Your habits shape your destiny. A wise man learns more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. Be mindful of your thoughts, for they are the architects of your character. To be truly wise is to recognize the limits of one's knowledge. Happiness comes not from external possessions, but from inner peace. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Let your actions speak louder than your words. True courage is knowing when to stand your ground and when to yield. All men are capable of good, but few choose it. Live simply so that others may simply live. The virtuous man seeks not his own gain but the good of others. Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought. Examine your motives before judging the actions of others. True wealth lies in the ability to live without envy. The pursuit of pleasure leads to dissatisfaction. The pursuit of virtue leads to fulfillment. Do not mistake comfort for happiness. The only thing more difficult than knowing oneself is improving oneself. Patience is the companion of wisdom. The man who moves mountains begins by carrying small stones. It is not length of life but depth of life that counts. Those who are afraid of change are afraid of growth. The path to virtue is steep, but the view is worth it. True greatness comes not from power, but from self-restraint. The wise man does not boast of his knowledge, for he knows it is incomplete. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single question. It is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. A just man's actions will speak for him even in his absence. Learn from the past, live in the present, and prepare for the future. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. Mastering others is strength. Mastering oneself is true power. Great is the man who conquers himself, for he has no enemy greater than himself. The universe is full of wonder. Let your curiosity guide you. Do not let the opinions of others determine your self-worth. The true philosopher seeks wisdom, not applause. Virtue is the foundation of a life well lived. The wise man understands the importance of balance in all things. The best way to find truth is to seek it with an open mind. The soul is purified through the fire of reflection. The man who questions his beliefs is the man who grows. True wisdom lies in one's ability to acknowledge their own ignorance. To understand the world, one must first understand themselves. Be humble, for pride often blinds us to the truth. The greatest form of wealth is to be content with what you have. The unspoken thought can often be the wisest answer. A life of virtue is the only life worth living. The beginning of all wisdom is the desire to learn. The heart of a good man is his greatest treasure. Question everything, for it is in doubt that truth is found. The purpose of education is to free the mind from the chains of ignorance. Be the person you want others to see in you. Excellence is a habit. Cultivate it daily. Those who know the least often speak the loudest. Speak truth even when it is difficult, for lies burden the soul. To think is to live. To question is to grow. The one who learns to rule his desires is truly free. Greatness comes not from what you take, but from what you give. Judge not by appearance, but by the character of the soul. The wise man seeks the truth in silence and reflection. The only way to avoid criticism is to say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. The ignorant man is content with simple answers. The wise man seeks deeper understanding. Let your actions be a testament to your values. The pursuit of truth requires courage, for it is often inconvenient. A virtuous man is one who acts justly even when no one is watching. The love of wisdom is the root of all philosophy. The greatest battle is not with the world but within ourselves. A good life is one spent in the pursuit of virtue and knowledge. True love is born from understanding and respect. The wise man sees the world as it is, not as he wishes it to be. Only through questioning can we rid ourselves of false beliefs. A soul that is untouched by envy is a soul at peace. The only way to live without regret is to live with purpose. Knowledge without virtue is like a ship without a rudder. The greatest gift you can give the world is the cultivation of your own soul. The wise man is not troubled by what he cannot control. Live in harmony with nature, and you will find peace within. The man who learns from every moment is truly alive. A just society is built on the foundation of virtue and reason. The untrained mind is like a wild horse, difficult to control and dangerous. The path to wisdom begins when we listen more and speak less. The true philosopher does not seek fame but understanding. The greatest harm we can do to ourselves is to ignore our inner voice. Virtue is not inherited. It is earned through effort and reflection. Do not be afraid of failure, for it is the path to growth. A good teacher does not give answers but inspires questions. The wise man is content with the simplicity of life. Let the pursuit of virtue guide all your decisions. True justice is treating others as you would wish to be treated. The fool speaks before he thinks. The wise man thinks before he speaks. The greatest wisdom is knowing what you do not know. True strength is not physical, but lies in the control of one's emotions. The wise man seeks understanding, while the fool seeks to be understood. Patience is the key to understanding the complexities of life. Good character is built on small daily acts of integrity. Do not be ashamed of seeking help, for wisdom grows through shared knowledge. The mind is enriched by thoughts of justice and truth. The virtuous man leaves a legacy of wisdom and love. Do not measure your life by what you achieve, but by who you become. The greatest treasures are found within the depths of your soul. True courage is facing your fears, not denying their existence. The wise man learns not from answers but from questions. The path to self-mastery begins with discipline. The soul's health is more important than the body's comfort. The wise man does not hoard knowledge but shares it freely. Time spent in reflection is never wasted. The best remedy for a troubled mind is the pursuit of wisdom. Treat others with kindness, for you never know their struggles. The only limit to your potential is the limits you place on your mind. A man who does not question himself remains forever a prisoner of his ignorance. Virtue is the harmony of thought, word, and action. The wise man does not seek revenge, for he understands the futility of anger. The pursuit of truth is a noble endeavor, even if it leads to discomfort. The man who can control his tongue is master of his destiny. The wise man does not fear death, for he understands it is part of life. A soul in pursuit of wisdom is never truly alone. Do not let fear of the unknown prevent you from seeking knowledge. The most valuable lesson in life is to learn how to learn. True greatness is measured by how we treat the least among us. Let the light of wisdom guide you through the darkness of ignorance. Life's greatest teacher is experience, but only for those willing to learn. The man who respects others respects himself. Through humility, we open the door to wisdom. The one who finds joy in learning will never grow old in spirit. The wise man does not claim to know what he does not. To live without seeking knowledge is to sleep through life. A wise man learns more from his enemies than a fool learns from his friends. The soul is dyed the color of its thoughts. Think only those things that are worthy. The more you seek wisdom, the more humble you must become. He who is not content with what he has will not be content with what he wishes to have. Knowledge is the only good, and ignorance the only evil. Only the pursuit of virtue brings true happiness. The man who dares to speak the truth is often the one who stands alone. An unexamined life is a life not worth living. Every choice you make reveals the state of your soul. Do not be swayed by the opinions of the masses, but seek truth within yourself. The wise man knows how to turn his mistakes into lessons. True leadership is guiding others to find their own light. Virtue is the balance between excess and deficiency. The only thing constant in life is change. Embrace it with courage. Friendship is a gift of the soul, not of convenience. The best way to learn is to teach others. Do not fear criticism, for it often holds a kernel of truth. The beginning of understanding is recognizing your own ignorance. A man who is ruled by his desires is a slave to himself. The wise man chooses what is right, not what is easy. Time spent in learning is an investment in your soul. The true test of a man's character is how he acts when no one is watching. The pursuit of virtue is the highest calling of life. To harm another is to harm yourself, for we are all connected. The one who seeks wisdom must first learn to listen. It is not what we have but what we do with what we have that matters. The wise man seeks first to understand and then to be understood. Do not envy others, for their struggles are often hidden from view. The truth is not always easy, but it is always right. Greatness is not measured by power, but by the goodness of one's deeds. The wise man is a student of life until the very end. True happiness lies not in the pursuit of pleasure, but in the pursuit of purpose. Those who seek only pleasure will never find peace. The virtuous man is like a rock, unshaken by the winds of fortune. Do not waste time arguing with fools. Let your actions speak for you. A man's greatness is determined by his ability to overcome his weaknesses. True wisdom begins with wonder. Knowledge without action is a tree without fruit. Do not be discouraged by failure. It is the stepping stone to wisdom. Every action you take creates a ripple in the fabric of the world. True peace comes from aligning your actions with your values. Virtue is the art of living well. Do not let fear of failure prevent you from taking the first step. A life lived for others is a life well lived. The pursuit of wealth often leads to the neglect of the soul. The wise man values truth over popularity. The best way to understand others is to first understand yourself. Do not seek revenge, seek understanding. Success without virtue is like a house built on sand. The man who conquers himself is the mightiest of warriors. True courage is speaking the truth even when it is unpopular. The highest form of human excellence is to question oneself and others. Character is what you do when no one is watching. The wise man adapts to the world. The fool demands the world adapt to him. Justice is not about punishment, but about restoring balance. Life is a series of choices. Choose wisely, for each decision shapes your destiny. True wealth is found in the relationships we build, not in the possessions we gather. Be curious, for curiosity is the root of all learning. The man who is truly free is the one who controls his desires. True strength is the ability to forgive. To seek knowledge is to honor the divine within us. Admit your mistakes quickly and learn from them humbly. The greatest wisdom is to know what you do not know. Treat everyone with respect, even those who disagree with you. Do not mistake comfort for happiness. True joy comes from growth. The only person you should try to be better than is the person you were yesterday. True greatness is not in being better than others, but in being the best version of yourself. Kindness is the language of the soul. True beauty shines from within the soul, not from the surface of the skin. Be a seeker of truth, not a follower of the crowd. To change the world, first change yourself. A good life is one where the soul grows every day. The only failure in life is failing to learn. Do not seek happiness outside yourself. It is within you waiting to be found. The wise man lives as if each day is his last, but plans as if he will live forever. The path to virtue is narrow and steep, but the rewards are eternal. The greatest gift you can give the world is your own enlightenment. Let your deeds be your legacy, not your words. The wise man does not seek to impress, but to express. Do not fear death, for it is the gateway to a new beginning. Let your life be a reflection of your highest values. Be patient with yourself, for growth takes time. Do not seek to escape life's challenges. Embrace them as opportunities to grow.